copy of Elizabeth Sobek from 1,000 years ago. In fact, seem to have advanced past the technology of 1,000 years ago, and the new technology since 1,000 years then is where they are now. So the machines that they're using now are based on the ones that they've created compared to the machines of the past, which are far more inferior. What I don't understand is if 1,000 years has passed and you were able to continue as each generation moves on, why would the technology still, as advanced as their technology is, why would you not make the technology advance in weaponry? I mean, this seems based on the fighting Eric, he got fireballs, he has an electric field around him. However, the machines that we've encountered in Zero Dawn and in this game so far kind of have those same capabilities. I would think that for these characters, for the powers that they are going to be used, is somewhat more advanced. Or maybe their powers were more imperative within their biological creation, to extend their life or to extend protection towards their armor and their suit. Maybe their strength is within the armor of their suit and not their weaponry. Because as you already know, 1,000 years advancing technology, it wouldn't be faring where we are right now in the 21st century to, how will I describe it? Okay, I can't go all the way back to Jesus Christ times because that's way more than 1,000 years. I have to go back to 1,000 years after that. I guess you could say after the Romans fell. And medieval times. So let's pull it all the way back to medieval times, when men used to use gadgets such as gunpowder and gunpowder inside of bombs and projectiles stuff. That type of technology were mostly based on gadgets and chemical composition making and so on and so forth. And the type of animals they used, or same type of animals, beast, tigers or so on, were used for pulling and pushing things, not really used for attacking. Couldn't keep them on control that way. But chariots and stuff during Roman times were replaced by more of vehicles that were more useful in medieval times for transportation. More like replace and use as carriages or wagons and so on and so forth for more utilitarian stuff rather than for military. Whereas the horseback still remains, but based on their speed, was more used for I guess it's used for specific individuals, not for the majority. Like vehicles used for carrying troops weren't really that much of a thing. You still had to walk during the medieval times to execute certain things in the medieval times. So I'm trying to picture an era where use of technology, and comparing it to vehicles now and vehicles then. How something would go from something pulling it during medieval times, carriage beast pulling a wagon that's more efficient than Roman times where it's not so efficient, to a vehicle that's able to pull itself on its own, which is a car. And how would you go from a car that's able to pull itself on its own, going anywhere 1,000 to 2,000 years back, if you could really think about it, or if you really want to go back 3,000 years back, things that were able to pull themselves on their own. So how would you go from a time period where something is able to pull itself on its own to where 1,000 years from Ted Pharaoh's time, how would you make a vehicle like that? That's beyond just pulling itself on its own. I mean, it still has to travel as normal vehicles would, faster way to travel, to use of fields. But how would you make it, I guess, not just on speed, but on capabilities of its actual functions? Traversing terrains is one thing. That's a good way. Strength of the vehicle itself, that's another thing. Speed of the vehicle, that's another thing. Type of vehicle structure, that's another thing. And I guess you could say the appearance is another thing, as well as the usage of how it could travel is another thing, and where it could travel. So I guess if you could create something to move on its own rather than being pulled by a physical object, you could then create the next level of something being able to be pulled on its own and move by itself, not dependent on a person to make it move on its own, which is manual operating systems of a car. It could automatically move on its own and travel in terrain and move in any place that you want to. I guess you could say the machines that were created during Ted Pharaoh's time were capable of doing so. But then 1,000 years past that time, how would a vehicle even move forward even more from a vehicle that's able to move forward in this time during Ted Pharaoh's time? Manual as well as independent of human operating systems. 1,000 years past that point, what would that be like? Would it now be independent of a person's move, but will still need command of a person to move it, just like a person still needs to be on a wagon to make the horse make the wagon move, whereas a person doesn't need a horse to make the wagon move. A person can make the wagon move by himself by independent systems, which is his car. And now move from that point to where you are, how to make a car move forward independently of the person who has to make the car move independently. So move the human being out of the equation to physically make it move, and make it move on its own once the human being is within the vehicle, which is kind of associated to Ted Pharaoh's time. But how would it push forward even then? So because you still have to travel from one else. So the thing is to make technology to the path for which you just get inside the vehicle or the form of transportation, and it moves on its own, but it requires the user, the person, to make it move, just like you require to make a horse move, a wagon, a car, to turn on the vehicle to make a car move. So independent of human functionalities will require a person's brain to make it move rather than a person's body to make it move. And then further into that future, 1,000 years more, which is more like Aloy's time, shouldn't it be the far scene of people wouldn't require their mind or their body to make such vehicles move, or somewhat associated with their mind, but not fully using their mind for this max capacity to make it move? Should be an easy transition. Is that what I saw with the far scene robots? They're able to make those vehicles move just independently of their physical actions based on their thoughts. But if that's the case, that still seems somewhat not 1,000 years past then, because remember, humans were using cows or horses to make vehicles move way before Roman times. It's like 2,000 years before even Jesus, people were doing that. So if you really consider where vehicles actually started to become automatic during the early 19th century, the experimentation of automatic vehicles, you take that time period, that century, 20th century, 21st century, That's simply only roughly around 300 years. Or you could even say during the locomotive times of the 18th century, a transition to 19th century, when locomotions, I guess the idea of making things move based on steam, you could say that it was a form of transportation without something attaching itself to it. But still, that would be 18, 19, 20, and 21st. That'd still be 400 years. And something years, still not enough. So if in Terra Pharaoh times, transportation by vehicle became automatic, or at least more easier for them to traverse using vehicles, using their both manual and automatic, with an additional 1,000 years, require far more advanced technology than the one that we see right now in this game. I mean, I'm trying to think of the logic of where the first vehicle, based on gadgetry, not electronics, independent of an animal to pull it, how far that goes back. And that only goes back about 300 or 400 years, as far as records have shown, documented by inventions. It could be wrong, but still it will fall way below 1,000 years. So if you're trying to put something in 1,000 years perspective, from Ted Pharaoh's time to where we are now, when things this game, as well as not just the beasts we see in this game, but the old Deathbringers and stuff during Ted Pharaoh's time, or Elizabeth Sobeck's time. Yes. So wouldn't those specters be far more advanced than they are right now? I mean, I know they're operating those specters using their minds. Me too. But wouldn't those specters be more You're supposed to be resting. Independent of human association? Or did the Farzina people wanted these specters to be manual, specifically for a reason? By manual I mean associated only towards their command by mind and movement, like animals or so on and so forth, which I guess is kind of advanced, more advanced than the technology that's developed over the earth falling to the Pharaoh plague. But I still think the technology of these people, the Farzina people, still seems kind of ancient in comparison to where they should be right now. That these beasts, that specters, wouldn't even need to manually walk. It would just float or just be around, and I guess if you want them to walk and to move, they wouldn't really need to be commanded. They will be so far advanced that they have their own self-consciousness and idealism and so on and so forth. But then you're thinking about creatures like Hades. What happens once that happens? They get out of hand. So maybe it's a pullback of technology is what's going on, not advancing further past the capabilities of where technology is supposed to be. And that was far more what we've seen with the robots in Zero Dawn and Forbidden West. But they've also pulled it back, I guess, which makes more sense for this game. That even though 1,000 years has passed since the Pharaoh's time, they haven't, but are still more advanced than the technology we see here with these machines. So that, I guess, that would make sense. But that would never be. That has not been explained within the game. It's more of an assessment that you would have to make, but then you would have to think in order to make such an assessment, and who's going to do that when they just want to play the game? And you could say, oh, that's a poor factor. Wouldn't they be more advanced within the game? And you start questioning certain things and details. I believe they should have put that in the game. As far as advanced as these people are, it's not, they haven't been so advanced past Zero Dawn's time that they look like they truly are futuristic beings, almost indescribable from the description of the definition of human. They should look more alien, even though they are they should look very human as well. But they look more human in body and in technology compared to what we see in this world. So that's just me trying to pull back the logic of how things work within the universe itself. But it's fine. I believe it was a pullback, and that's my description and answer towards this situation. There was a pullback in technology, for otherwise these people would be more advanced. So maybe there's a story there. Maybe there's a reason why they decide to stay not like these people. They decide to keep up with the original way, the world, rather than adapt to where's the world like everyone else is. Maybe these descendants decide to keep to the whole Planet of the Apes type thing and stay as people from, I guess, from the future, or descendants that passed on and decide not to accept the land, but to accept old ways and stay out of the limelight of everything that happened in Zero Dawn quite well. Because I believe that would have been something that would brought to Aloy's attention by Gaia or someone else, or even Hades, or even Silence back in the Zero Dawn days, that these people did exist, which means that no one knew they existed in the Forbidden West. They were keeping a very low profile from Silence, from Aloy, even from Gaia herself, which means even Hades probably knew about these people, but probably kept them from everyone else. So I believe there's a much deeper story going on, and I need to dive deeper. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure I get to level 20 and then push forward the side quest, and then dive deeper into the story. So but now that I'm out, I could now do more exploration and listen to the moving forward in the story. I want better armor. I want her to be level 20, and I want her to... Okay, so I could max this out, but I don't think I need it. I need like 5 for that. So I'll shut up and just move forward in the game. My whole intention is to say what I say, is because I'm trying to define what it is to skip 1,000 years, and based on how that logic works and how technology would work based on everything I'm seeing. And I guess it's somewhat close to that time period why they would use inspectors with their mind, and inspectors independently of them actually manually use it to operate using their minds. But I still think if you really factor it in, they should be more advanced. And if you really also want to factor in, there should have been a pullback period why they're not more advanced. And I believe something in the story will explain that. I don't know what it is, or maybe there really isn't. Maybe the people who made this game said, oh, well, we can't think that far ahead, so we'll think as far ahead as we can with regards to the story so far. Alright, so let's see here. Damage dealt. Okay, so let me shut up and continue the story. Actually, I'll use my restroom first, and then I'll continue the story.
Persia Huntress, now this Outlander.
Having a good day?
Yeah, so I really had to use the restroom there, man. It took longer than I thought. What the hell? But yeah, man. Just that's the way it is. Okay, so I'm going to move forward. No talking. Jump back into the game and proceed forward. I will turn it up to very hard though, because that last battle, I believe that was supposed to just be me hitting those vents and then it's falling down, then that's it. If you keep your distance from an enemy and light them up, you should be safe. But if you're in too close quarters, you're going to be definitely hurting in the very hard mode. So I'm going to test out very hard mode moving forward. If I realize there's something I can't do right now based on my capabilities and my tree of skills that I have right now, I don't have enough skills, then I won't up it up. But if I want, see, you have to understand something. This is a game that penalize you for using too much resources to kill an enemy, and penalizing you for taking too long to take shots, penalizing you for not making faster movements with your weapons or with your bow, or penalize you for not using your resources when you're supposed to. So since I'm knocking this up to very hard, the essentials have just switched just a tad. So this warrior, survivor, and infiltrator will now be the new hybrids, and trapper and machine master will be at the 50% marker. So these three will be maxed out for my hybrid build. Actually, these three will be maxed out for my hybrid build. Infiltrator will be at 100% as well, and trapper will be at a 50% marker, just like I said before, and machine master will be at 50% marker. So before this game is over, the only two things that aren't going to be fully maxed out are going to be trapper, or just hear me out to myself, saying this to myself, or what's going to be maxed out are the first four: warrior, trapper, hunter, and survivor. That's going to be my new hybrid, or hunter, survivor, warrior, and infiltrator are going to be my hybrid. Now I don't really need an infiltrator to be my part of my hybrid, because then it won't be a hybrid build. It'll be more of a stealth build. The hybrid build is necessary to use all the main important functions of her capabilities, and less functions of the ones that I don't want to use, but at the same time still have a significant portion of those abilities ready and available. So in this case, based on the decision I'm going to make, these three are going to be maxed out, and if I max this out, then it's not hybrid anymore. As if I max this out, it's not hybrid anymore. Or this. So trapper is going to be at 75%, and infiltrator is probably going to be at 75% as well, but not fully maxed out. And machine master is going to be at 50%. So to round it off, I'm going to unlock this section all here to get it to trapper to 75%, but the lower sections here are not going to be mastered. So these nodes right down here aren't going to be maxed out, but these ones are. Or once I unlock this node right here, these ones around here aren't going to be maxed out, but the Val Surge is. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have trapper at 75, infiltrator at 75, This at 100, this at 100, and this at 100 before the end of the game. And Machine Master will probably be the only one that's at 50%. So that's my hybrid build. The two main ones will be Hunter, Survivor, and Warrior maxed out. Trapper and Infiltrator were supposed to be at 50%, but now that I'm in very hard mode, they're going to be at 75%. And Machine Master was supposed to be at 25%, but now I'm very hard. It's going to be at 50%. Now this build, this hybrid build, I'll use the same hybrid build for Extreme once I unlock Extreme, so it won't be any different. Hunter, Survivor, and Warrior. Trapper will still be at 75, Infiltrator will still be at 75, Machine Master will still be at 50, because I want somewhat of a challenge for Extreme. But since I'm on very hard mode, the standard Trapper that was supposed to be 50 and Infiltrator is supposed to be 50 and Machine Master is supposed to be 25 are now going to be up by 25% per. So that's what everything else, Hunter and Survivor and Warrior are going to be 100. This is going to be 75, this is going to be 75, and this is going to be 50. But none of these ones, Trapper, Infiltrator, or this, are ever going to be mastered up. Their Valve Surge will be unlocked. Like this 50% is Valve Surge here will be unlocked just to have access to it and to use it. But the nodes around it won't be unlocked. The nodes only here will be unlocked, and then Valve Surge will be unlocked. And same applies to here. The nodes around here won't be unlocked, but the Valve Surge will be unlocked and maxed out to get it to that 75%. Surrounding nodes, or hear me out. The Valve Surge won't be maxed out, but everything else around will be. So however you want to play it, you can play it your way. My way is to make sure everything's at least 75% for Trapper, Infiltrator, and Machine Master. Now if those points go into the Valve Surge rather than the nodes around, it still have to get it to 75% and ignore the nodes. Or if all the nodes are unlocked but the Valve Surge is not unlocked, it stays at 1% Valve Surge, then that's also fine, because I have no intentions to max out everything. But what I really want to do is to max out the Valve Surge, just not the nodes around it, to make it look like a line is going all the way down, but not all the nodes are going to be unlocked. But the Valve Surge for each of these are going to be maxed out, just not the nodes around. But I'll play it by ear. Maybe I do have to unlock those nodes around to access certain abilities. And if that's the case for every single one of them, then they have to be done. But the Valve Surge will not be done. That's what's going to happen. If the nodes require me to unlock them, they're going to be done. But if the Valve Surge require me to unlock them without need for nodes, those are also going to be done. So this is going to be 50, this will be 75, this will be 100, this will be 100, this will be 75, and this will be 100. So 3 100s, 2 75s, and 150 on very hard mode. So that's my hybrid build. My all-rounder build, I guess you could call it. So that's what I'm calling an all-rounder build. All-rounder hybrid build, that's what I'm calling it.
What do you want?
Is there some sort of problem?
The problem is foreigners. You're the second one I've seen today. Sooner you all go, the better this soil will be. Less chance of bad seeds taking root.
I would have thought easing your land god's pain would have earned some goodwill around here, but...
Ray is going to die anyway, just like all of us. Meanwhile, Outlanders come, taking what little we have left. Just like that Karja huntress I saw earlier. Dragging an Utaru girl behind her like a slave. Called the girl a thrush. Never heard that before. Must be some old Karja curse.
Wait, a Karja huntress with an Utaru thrush.
What, whoever she is? May her seeds find fertile soil.
I know you didn't mean to, but you may have just helped me find an old friend. Thanks.
Don't need your thanks. Don't want it.
Are you buying or selling today? My wares will help you on your hunt. Are you buying or selling today? from one hunter to another. We should trade. The dangers of the hunt require... quality gear. will help you on your hunt. From one hunter to another. The dangers of the hunt require quality gear.
Move along, Blightair.
If you hunt, we should trade. Hey!
No, I won't accept that. I can't.
May your next hunt bring you back with trophies. May your arrows find their mark. I will see you again.
We have not met the likes of you before.
I think I'm late for my duty.
Are you buying or selling today?
I need to meet Varl and Zoe in Plainsong. Ask the chorus if we can go into their sacred cave. Minerva should be inside. If I can get it, I can reboot Gaia. And then maybe we can figure out who those strangers in the Proving Lab were. But first, I might want to head southwest to find an old friend. See what she's doing out here. And maybe explore a little. Need these later, for sure. So it doesn't like purge water. There's another cauldron with override data on that one. Shock ammo won't do much. that's one of the Utara land gods. What's it doing here? One of the Utaru land gods. What's it doing here?
It ought to hurt it.
I think that's one of the Utaru land gods. What's it doing here? That's one of the Utaru land gods. What's it doing here? That's one of the Utaru land gods. What's it doing here? That's one of the Utaru land gods. What's it doing here? It's weak against shock. think that's one of the Utaru land gods. What's it doing here? I think that's one of the Utaru land gods. What's it doing here? Shock ammo could help.